Hello. So in this video, I want to show you how to change the colors in your sketches that you do in P5JS. So I have these functions being called to just draw different shapes. And right now they're just filling in as white, and then the border on the outside of them is black. And you can tell how I did use a different color on the background. So I do have different colors going on here. But when we go to use different colors, there's actually two different things to think about. We want to think about what is the fill color when we draw a shape, and then what is the stroke color that shows up as the border on these shapes. All right, so let's say I want to make the shapes not fill in with white, but fill in with red. So I'm going to call the fill function. And there's lots of different colors I could do here, so I do need to provide a parameter to say what color I want the fill to be. Now there are several different ways we can do this. We're just going to start off with the basics though. So I type in the color. The only problem with doing it exactly like this is that it thinks that when I typed red that this was a variable. But that's actually going to give an error, that it doesn't know what this is referring to. Because I want the code to know that I actually want the color that is spelled with the letters R-E-D, then I need to put red inside of quotes. So I'm going to start and then end the word red with those quotes. And because there's something special about R-E-D that I know what that means, that I want the computer to be able to use. So now when I do that, then that changed the fill color for these. Right now, if I want to change what the border was, then I'm going to use the stroke function. And there's lots of different colors I could choose, so I need to put a parameter in here. So let's say I want it to be blue. But again, there's something special about BLUE, whatever that color is. So I'm going to put quotes before and after it. All right, and that will change the outline color. Now what red and what blue are, the fact that I had to use these quotes here, those are called strings. So when you have something that is a piece of text, it's something like a name, a name of a color, a sentence, a word, a paragraph, a whole bunch of paragraphs, all that text together. Then if it's a bunch of letters, then that's what's called a string. All right, and that's different from the numbers that we were using here. Notice how when I was using the circle function and I said what the x and the y and the width, and I was doing height on these other ones, that I didn't need to use any quotes there because those were numbers. So I could just type up the number. The computer knew what I meant by that. When it comes to red and blue, computers don't automatically have an understanding of what that means. Right? This means that there is a word spelled R-E-D that is what I want the computer to use. And so with it being those words or names, you need to have quotes in the front and in the back, and those are called strings, as opposed to being numbers, or if we would have a variable that we'll get to in another video. All right, so something else you can do too is you can change the stroke weight. So I can make that border a little bit thicker. I use the stroke weight function. There's lots of different sizes I could put in here. Now this is going to be a number. It's the number of pixels. Right now the default is just 1 pixel, and you can see 1 pixel is pretty small. So if I did 5, then I would tell it to use a stroke weight of 5 pixels, which is actually pretty thick in our drawing. All right, so you can see how that changed what that thickness was. Now everything that we've done in here has applied to all of the drawings, and that's because at the very top we changed the fill and the stroke weight, and then we went about drawing all the shapes. If I use these commands in between the shapes that I'm drawing, then it would cause those shapes to look a little bit different. So what if I wanted the circle and the ellipse to be red, or to be filled in red? But then I actually wanted the rectangle and the line to have a different color. Right, well, then I could just call the fill function again, but just with a different color. I'm going to say quotes green, close quotes. Is there something special about green? All right, and you can see how that did change the fill color of the rectangle. Now lines don't have a fill, so that's why they don't look that way, they just have the stroke. But I could change the stroke of just the line itself. So I could say stroke, calling the stroke function with the parentheses, and I'm going to say quotes yellow end quotes inside of there. So you can see how I've used two different colors for the fill, and then I have two different colors going on with the stroke as well. So the order that these lines are in does affect the way that it looks. So at first I draw a background, and then I set the fill color to red, set the stroke color to blue, set the stroke weight to 5. Then I draw a circle at that location with that diameter. Then I draw an ellipse at that location with that width and that height. And then I change what my fill color is, draw a rectangle, but I haven't changed the stroke color yet for the rectangle. So that's why it's still blue, because that's what I set it to up here. Then after I draw the rectangle, I set the stroke color to yellow, and then I draw a line. So that's why each of those pieces are the way they are. So then you might be wondering, well, why is background so different? Why did I put a number there? Well, we actually can choose to either just give it numbers to tell us what color it is, or we can use these names of colors. So instead of saying 220, which just refers to a color that's pretty far white, a number that's 0 is going to be black, grayscale. And then 255 is the largest number it will recognize, so that's going to be the color white. So 220 is pretty close to white, but still, it's gray. Instead of giving it that number for a grayscale, I can give it the name of a color too. Right, so I can tell it to be purple. And that's the name of a color, so I need my quotes to begin and quotes to end. So I can set the background that way. And then there's even another way to define colors where you can have millions and millions of different kinds of colors, but we'll get to that at another time.